Fantastic. So, I'd like to kick off without wasting any of your precious time this very hot evening. This is part of our business support program. Getting used to this thing now. This is part of our business support program, and every Thursday we will be running these sessions. Every Thursday, 5:30 till 7:30. Additionally, we have other programs like for social enterprises, and then we also have business support, which is one-to-one as you book it, as you receive it. Okay, so if you don't know much about PSWN, I'm not going to go into it today, but hopefully you'll find out a lot more about what we do on the website. All right. This session is focused on business planning to raise finance. Okay. At whatever your business is, either you're limited by share, you're a sole trader, you're a CIC, you're a charity, makes no difference. This conversation is entirely based on raising your awareness and making sure, if you're going to do it, what to think about. Our next session next week is with a funder, okay? The Growth Impact Fund. They've got between 50,000 and 150,000 to invest with minority-led social enterprises and all other businesses, okay? Whether you want to move from idea to implementation, they are there to do that at scale, all right? So this is a community conversation and support before we get into that space also, all right? And we've got Brother Jimmy, who's joining us from France, and he'll be, kind of taking you through this journey from his main expertise. For those on Zoom, the angle sometimes you see like now, maybe you don't see them like a shadow, it's fine. But please use your Zoom function in terms of raising your hand or if you've got any questions. And as we go along, Jimmy's not going to do the whole presentation and then you ask questions. We're going to do it stage by stage, all right? So really interactive. For those that are here, this is the mic, all right? So you can move the mic around because if you're further away from it, it may not necessarily pick up. Jimmy, if the sound is not great, please let us know, all right?
Will do.
And Jimmy and anyone online is coming through from this speaker here. So we can also move this around to make sure that we can really hear as much as we can. Unfortunately, because of the heat of airplanes, there's additional noise that I can't remove. So yes, and don't worry about this. I'm just trying to get used to something. Yeah. So Brother Jimmy, over to you.
Thank you very much. So, and good evening, everyone. Very nice to meet you, all of you. So we got quite a lot to go on today because it's kind of a very big topic, how to prepare your business plan to raise funds. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. So I am an ex-investment banker. I spent 10 years working in the city of London. So I worked for big investment banks such as Morgan Stanley, which is the largest US one. And I used to work as a vice president's credit analyst. So effectively, what I used to do is to approve the investment decision or recommend it to my bosses. So I've gained 15 years experience in writing investment proposal and reviewing business plans. And I decided to leave the industry because I wanted to do something with more purpose. I was a bit tired to basically make the 1% wealthier. So I decided to set up my own consultancy firm called Impact Finance Consulting, and we are ourselves a social enterprise. So we help startups, charities, and social enterprises raise funding. We advise them on the best financing options available to them. We write their business plans, and we also do the financial modeling. So my area of expertise is social investments. I understand the growth impact funds is also in social investor, and they will make a presentation next week. I also specialize on commercial loan and equity investments. I'm also a CIMA associate, so a management accountant, and that's me in a nutshell. So I think let's start maybe just to give you a bit the way I will structure the workshop. Like Sibiso say, we will stop at each slide and we'll have an opportunity to ask questions. Here, what I want to distinguish is we are not focusing on any business plans. So you have, I guess, businesses doing a business plan to set up their goals in the next years, next 12 months. But here it's really the focus is on raising funds. So what I want you to get out of this is really an understanding of what is important for investors and how do they think about it when they look at your business plan. So with that in mind, this will enable you to basically write a business plan which meets the requirements. So first of all, the starting point before writing anything is to ask yourself, what type of funding are you thinking? And why this is important is because depending on your investors, the focus of your business plan will be different. So let's take the example of a grant. A grant, you are not expected to repay it. So therefore, what is important for the grant provider is really the impact you are having. And they will be also interesting in your, for example, a legal structure. They won't feel comfortable providing a grant to a limited company because effectively they want to make sure you have an impact. So they will be focusing on charity, on CIC, for example. But then if you decided to get a loan, then that's a different story, because what the lender would be interested in is primarily your ability to repay the loan. So they want to make sure if they lend you 100,000, in 5 years you will be able to repay this. And they usually think about different ways you can repay this, whether from your businesses or they might ask you security in case you cannot repay. And then you have equity investment. So what I mean by this, it's mainly an angel investors or a venture capital investing in equity in your venture. So here you don't have to repay it, but you have to provide them some equity in your business. And for example, the legal structure here also will be important because as a charity or a CIC, you cannot really raise the equity because of your legal structures. And then you have social investment. So social investment is most of the time is in the form of the loan, and that's the focus is really on the social and the impact you're having. And then you have impact investments. And what I mean by impact investment is really an equity investors, but he wants to invest, for example, on a limited company. But in addition to the return, he would like to see that you have an impact. I will pause here and just open up for questions. Do you have any question on the type of funds? Or just out of interest, what kind of funds are you thinking, if anyone is thinking to raise funds in the next 12 months?
For your investment, what kind of information you need to give them?
He's going to talk about that. So the first question, more or less, is what kind of funds are you aiming to seek? Are you trying to get a loan? Trying to give someone equity in your company? So if you're limited by share, maybe you want to give someone 10% of your company, yeah? Or you want to get social investments or impact investments. But if you're not sure what any of these means, then the next step is to explain what each of those mean. Yeah? But obviously, grant is the simple one. Grant is non-repayable finance. The other ones are a bit different. Okay? So we're going to take you through that. So I would really encourage engagement. because through your engagement, we can then direct where we focus the most. So if people are interested in loans, we can have more of a discussion around loans because all of these topics are really broad, yeah? We're not going too specific in them, but if we see that there's an interest on a specific part, we can go more specific on part, yeah? So, yeah, Jimmy, over to you.
Thank you. There is some echo, but I've got a question on the chat saying I'm mainly seeking for grants over the next 12 months. Okay. So I think for grants, just to clarify, the purpose of this presentation is not so much focusing on grants, it's focusing more on the loans, equity, social investment, and impact investment. So everything where you either have to repay or the investor will be seeking returns. So that's my expertise. This is where I've got my 15 years experience. So the focus will be on this. On the grants, what I would say is you can follow some of the sections here, but the focus is more on the impact you are having. So it's a competitive process, the grants. So you have to make sure that you demonstrate you have a significant impact. That's what I would say for this. Then why ask this question? What type of funding are you thinking? It's because that will basically be the driver of your business plan. This is how you will structure it. It's with your audience in mind. So what I mean by this is different investors have different objectives. So I mentioned about the grant providers, but the lenders are touch based on this. What they would like to see is in your business plan that you can show them if they lend you £100,000 today for 5 years, you will be able to repay this. And so your business plan focus is more on getting them comfortable with what they want. So they want you to be able to repay the loan. So therefore, the focus here is to give them confidence on your business model, on your financials, and the financials should show that you have enough, you will generate sufficient cash to repay the loan. And social investors, although they focus on the social impact, they still want you to be able to repay your loans. So therefore, they will have the same requirements as the lender, although they might be more patient. So let's say lenders will probably be looking at 5 years, and if you're not repaying, I'm talking about the like of NatWest, the high street bonds, they start being a bit, I would say, panicking. And whereas the social investor would be more, I would say, helpful. Even if you cannot repay, they will try to accommodate you because of the social impact. But equally, in your business plan, you should demonstrate your ability to repay the loan and also your social impact. For an equity investors, so the main motivation is the financial return. So how equity investors, I guess, generate a return? It's mainly on selling your businesses. When you sell your business or they sell the share, they can make a profit out of it. So therefore, what they will be thinking is fast-growing startups or businesses, so they can see that the valuation of today of your business will significantly increase in the next 5 years. And then if they want to exit, they can make a profit. And the other way they will make a financial return is through the payment of dividends. So again, you bearing this in mind, your business plan and financials should demonstrate two things. So the first one is you have a business model which they can believe in and they think there is a fast growth here. And second of all, that your cash flow will generate sufficient cash for them to pay dividends, themselves dividends in a few years. An impact investor focusing on equity it's exactly the same as an equity investor. The only thing they will ask a return, but in addition to this, similar to a social investor, they want to see the impact you are having. So that's really, in summary, the main type of investment. I will pause here for any question. Is there, okay, let me check the chart.
Right, it's on mute. This is the mic. Okay, you just come in, so just make sure you have that close by, and then they're speaking from this. One of the main things that we focus on social investment is that when it comes to this area of finance, is less than 1% minority-led organization that seem to access this, okay? So the grant landscape is a grants landscape. When it comes to these kind of financing, and for women-led businesses like 0.003%, in terms of access to this kind of money. So the fund that's coming next week, they've got a very clear remit around financing minority-led organizations. And most of the funders that we get, because they have that committed purpose and they want to distribute that money. But of course, the people that are not applying with ideas that, you know, make market sense, then they've got no one to fund, and then money goes back to them. We don't want that. It is live, it is here, it is now. So
Can I just ask a question?
sure.
Sorry. Clarify again. What's the difference between a social investor and an impact investor?
That's a very good question.
Quick, David, here. I don't even know. I think I know only one song where he actually said, "Quick, David." So David or whatever. David. Okay, I didn't know his name.
Sorry, I just want to make sure if I understood the question correctly. Was your question, what is the difference between a social investor and an impact investor? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's a very good question. I think you could consider a social investor as an impact investor. But I think the main difference, I would say, it's really who they target. I think when you think about social investors, most of them in the UK, they will primarily invest in charity and social enterprise. And what I mean by social enterprises, I mean CIC. So the legal for social investors, the legal structure is quite important. So they win most, I think from some of my clients, they are limited company and they got turned down because they cannot get funding because the social investor only focus on charity or unless you're a limited company, you have to be limited company by guarantees, but privately held limited companies, they're not focusing. I think if you think about impact investment, there are different, I would say, a spectrum. I think if you think about the extreme end of it, you will have the social investors. So they are purely focusing on the social organization, on voluntary community and social enterprises. And then in the middle, you might have funds or asset management, and they want to invest on mainly on equity to limited companies, social enterprises. So they generate a good returns. And in addition to this, they have an impact. So on the beneficiary. And then I guess toward the other end of the spectrum, which is, I would say, the light impact investors, is what you see now in big bank, in asset management. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with ESG. So environmental and social governance, that stands for. So now some investor is asking them, well, if you invest in I would say, for example, in Centrica or a big, a large company, so they want them to demonstrate they have environmental and social and governance impact. And that's why you've seen the rise in corporate social responsibility. So it's kind of to tick the social box. So does that answer your question, Margot?
Yes, thank you.
So the investor is the one that's choosing because what you are delivering meets what they're looking for. So if you are a green business and you want to do solar panels, a company that's looking to have better carbon footprints will invest in you. So maybe BP, because they're like, oh, we're really bad. Let's invest in that person. You know what I mean? Yeah. So in that sense, there's always going to be the ethics of your own organization about where you choose to get your money from, because some people want to use your good to meet their bad, yeah, and some people want their good to be enhanced by your good, yeah. So you gotta have your own clear thing about where you're gonna take this money from when it comes, yeah. Yeah. Brilliant, Jimmy.
Excellent. Just maybe the next slide is basically the objectives of the business plans. So I will summarize this to simple answers. It's why should investor invest in your business? So your business plan should be focused on this. So you should always have this on the back of your mind. When you're writing, it's like you want to convince the readers, the investors, to invest in your business. So what does this mean? It's first, you need to showcase your business, why you think it's a great business model, why you think it's expected to grow, and you also need to meet the investor requirements. So we mentioned social investors, so we need to have a section to demonstrate you're having a social impact, in addition to be able to demonstrate that you can repay the loan. And it's all about telling your story. I think that's what I got from most of the investors. So it really comes down, although you have a 20, 30 pages business plan, it really comes down to them saying, do we really believe in their story? So that's why it's all about telling your story and making it, obviously backing this by numbers and by realistic assumptions. Is there any question on that, on the objectives of your business plan?
No, Jimmy, I was just saying that because of the level of social value that the organization may do, it's very important that you try and, beyond measuring it, make sure that there's a value to your social value. Does that make sense?
Explanation.
So, for example, if you say your organization works with ex-offenders, yeah, and you've worked with 10 ex-offenders to get them work in whatever, yeah, there's a value that you've created there in terms of cost savings to government, yeah. So for each ex-offender, maybe the value is 45,000. Multiply that by 10. Your work has contributed $500,000 towards reducing the offending because of this, yeah. But if you're only just talking about taking 10 people into employment, that's one thing. But now you haven't said how much this social good that you just done is worth. So another investor could invest, an impact investor, on your impact. You with me? Yeah. So they're just investing on how you're articulating these numbers. You know, you worked with communities, mental health, you did this, you know, you provided humor to people, people are laughing, they enjoyed that, sense of well-being, all of that stuff. What's the value to that? Boom, you got a value to it, I'll invest in that. Yeah. So that's why it's not just about what you measure, but it's also about the numerical value of it. Yeah. Cool. Sorry, Jimmy.
Absolutely, and yeah, I would echo this. And it's more. This is what is. It's important to identify your audience because if you're, let's say, if you want to apply for, I guess, an investors, we want to invest in a green or on the environment. It'd be important to demonstrate in your business plan how you fit with what they call investment thesis. So basically align your organization with their mission, and it's the same for social investors. So if you want to approach social investment, you need to demonstrate how your organization values is aligned with the social investor missions and values. I will move to now to just some high-level tips before you write your business plans, and that's drawn from experience working with investors and their feedback. I think what they like is they like a business plan when you are concise, when it's structured, and when you can back up your assumptions. So, and whenever you make reference, if you said you expect your market to grow by 20%, it's always better if you can back this by a report or research as just mentioning this like this, because then the next question, how did you get this from? And I think what I would say, I will discourage to do is more like, the buffers have some unrealistic assumptions, because at the end of the day, it's one thing to sell your business to investor, but then if you come up with some unrealistic assumption, you just started and you think that you got the market growing at let's say 5%, and you expect to grow at let's say 70% or so, I think you will raise eyebrows unless you have a very good rationale for this. Equally, I would say it's not. I would not advise to be too conservative, because just to give you a bit of insight on the decision process in investors, most of the time what they will do, especially for loan, they will create what they call downside scenario sensitivity analysis. So they will look at your projection and they will say, okay, well, we want to be a bit more conservative, and they will apply, let's say, if you assume a 10% increase in revenue, they will run a scenario whereby they will reduce this to 2%. And the lender would like to see that in this scenario, you still be able to repay the loan, and equity investor will still want to see that it will make a good return out of it. So it's something to bear in mind that investors are likely to run downside scenarios. So it's basically they will apply a haircut to everything you already did, unless they think there is no need for this. And I will also discourage to focusing too much on the risk. I think I have a risk section. I will elaborate a bit more on that point at later stage. But again, their job is also to identify the risk in your business. So they're already doing quite a thorough assessment of the risk. So it's good to focus a bit more on the positive, on the strength of your business, as opposed to too much on the risk. I think we might have a question in the chat. Let me check. Okay, so it's just a question for recording here. Is there any question in the room?
Yes. If you have a college which you went before, let's say a business college, you can refer this in your writing. Maybe they can put more confidence in you.
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of the question. What was it?
If you went to a business college before,
yeah,
you can put this in your writing, and they are going to have more confidence in you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one part. I think this will be covered more on the organization overview. I think it also depends at which stage your business at. what I would say from my experience, equity investors, we invest in startup, most of the decision is made on the confidence on the founder because you have limited track record. So if you showcase that you've been to business schools, you got some relevant experience, and in addition to this, you have a good group of advisors, it definitely makes you in a better position. And equally for a charity, if you have the trustee, all that. So I would say, if let's say you've been trading for 10 years, that's less of an issue. But we say at the startups, I can see that investors put a lot of importance on the founders. So everything you can demonstrate your skills and your ability to run a venture successfully is always good to put.
Think about the team and think about your skills audit, right? These are some of the things that make your application stand out. You know, some organizations, based on who they have put as part of their board and advisory board, are easily able to start with getting, £500,000 invested in them. Just because when they look at the credentials of the people on the board, they say, okay, you feel like you've got the capacity to do what you said you're going to do, So you really got to think, about your skills and not undermine your experience to say, I don't have any qualifications, for example. Well, your lived experience talks a lot also. So remember, there's that impact investment, and then there's different kinds. So some people are really interested in the story of the organization and the people, and some are really interested in the academic elements of it. Yeah, story, like, if I want to run an organization supporting people from a refugee background because I was one and I've got my papers, that's my story and I've lived it. So, they can see the impact of that and they can probably invest in that. So it is really trying to make sure that you've got, if you're strong on one, be strong on one. If you're strong on this one, be strong on that one. If you're strong on both, be strong on both, right? But don't hide or reduce what you think is important and think that it's not. Because you don't know who's looking and who's the one there in the board. It could be someone from your experience, but now they're on that side of the panel, you know what I mean? So you don't know. Because most boards now, they also want them to be very diverse. So when they choose applications, they want diversity in the board itself. So now you've got a potential ally, but if you're not putting those things that would, make somebody else decide, oh, actually, let's take a chance over there. Actually, this is a stronger case for this whatever application. You don't know who's there, so rather put it in than not put it in. Okay.
And absolutely, and I will also echo this, and especially if you're a social enterprise, and I can tell you maybe the process on getting social investment. And before you actually get to write your business plans and prepare your financial model, what will usually happen is you have an expression of interest, or if you want, if you work maybe with an advisor like me, so we reach out to social investors, and then they will first, if they're interesting, you first have an initial conversation. So in this conversation, you don't need a business plan straight away, but it is an important conversation where you can actually showcase, your business and also your experience and build the relationship with the relationship manager, because that's important, because he is the one we will support your application. Because once you have this initial conversation, then they will say, they call it due diligence process. So what does that mean? This is the time where they want to take a deep dive in your business. So they will ask for a business plan, your financials, and then they ask questions. And once they get this, they actually use the information for your business plan and financial models to create their own application, which they will submit to they call investment committee. And the investment committee, which is made up of senior management, then they will decide whether to invest. So that's why it is important to have a good relationship with the relationship manager or investment manager. So if there is no question, I move on now to the section really of your business plan. What I would say here, it's really a suggestion. There is no really right or wrong way to present it, but that's the way typically, this is the section I cover for my clients. And I will also show you, illustrate each section with some of the business plans I created for charity and social enterprise and startups, so you can have a feel of how it looks like. So the first section is your executive summary. So what I think I could say here is probably the most important section. Why? Because can you imagine, I think, probably not so much if you had already a call with the relationship manager, but let's say for other equity investors, they see your business plan for the first time, they see thousands of business plans. The bank sees so many of them, so you want to catch their attention straight away, and you want to make them feel they want to know more about your business. They want to find out more. You don't want to kind of discard your application. They think, oh, straight away, this is not a fit. So that's why it is important, because it's the first page and you might have, let's say 15, 20 or 30 pages. So I think not all of them read the whole things. I can tell this by experience. So it's important the first page really get most of the message across and why they should invest in your organization. So here, a suggestion to present this is usually to provide really a short description of your business, and then your request, what do you need the fund for? And then what I call investment highlight. Here you could call it really the key strengths of your business, why they should invest in this. You don't want some organizations, they leave this towards the end. What I advise my clients to do is always to put this on the first page and not let them read 20 or 30 pages before they get to this. So you want to show them straight away, that's why I'm a good fit and that's why you should invest in my business. So just showing you just an example, let me switch. Just let me share. This is an example of a business plan award for a charity. They have two. They have a charity parent company and a social enterprise, and they were looking for 80,000 total social investment. And what I meant by the executive summary here, it's here you have a description and why really they, and just one thing I should mention, I hide the name for confidentiality reason. So, but it just gives you a feel of how it is structured. So here it's basically a description and why they want the fund. So here we have a table saying how they want to source the fund and how they want to use it. And then what I call the investment highlight is the key strengths of the organization. So at first glance, an investor can see, okay, well, that's the way he's going he's got a clear idea how he wants to invest my funds. Then he gives me just why I should invest. It's a fast growing, so it's growing fast. So they like this, they think this is growing fast. There is a strong market, so your growth assumptions is supported by a strong market growth. Then you have a diversified income, meaning that, for example, for a charity, I wouldn't say that it's not necessarily a good thing if you generate 100% or 90% of your income from grants. And unless you have a track record of successfully fundraising for 30 years, this will be a red flag, because they will think, okay, if the grants dry up, how they will repay the loan. And then saying, for example, it's a resilient charity and they got strong partners, and also because it's social investment, we have a section on the social impact, just a summary. So here they can see at first glance, the first page, straight away, that, well, this organization, it's a good fit. And they can see straight away why they should invest. I will pause here for any questions or clarification. I'm happy to.
People making applications. But Jimmy's suggesting that your introduction is short, sweet, strong, straight to the point, about what you want to do, how much you're looking for, and then also highlighting some of your strengths. That's right in the front and not down there in the end, you know. So that was just an example of an application that he's made. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't leave it until the end.
No questions, Jimmy?
Okay, so I think we can move on to the second section. And again, here, I would say I'll call it, you're probably quite familiar with the problem statements. What customer problem are you solving? I think here, to me, it's more you stating your problem you're solving than the solution you are offering. And the combination of both that create the business opportunity. And here I would say it depends also at which stage you are. Let's say if you've been trading for 10 years, I'm not so sure really there is a need for this because you have a strong track record. You know, you've got 10 years track record, so there is a market for it. I think that's more for startups. So for example, the charity I show you here, I did not have this because they've been around for 30 years and it wasn't really, you know, a point here. However, I can show you the work I did for a startup which successfully raised 600K. And so let me show you the way it looks like. Okay, so I just, once again, it's one. Okay, share, I just need to move to this one. Can you see, okay, so you're seeing my screen. Okay, so can you see the business opportunities section?
Yes.
Okay, so again, here, this is I basically highlighting, I hide some of the section because obviously I signed an NDA, so it's for confidentiality reason, but you can have a feel of what I meant. So when I said the business opportunity, and this was relevant because it's a startup. They just had a really little revenue. I think probably they had the MVP, what they call in a startup world, a minimum viable product. So they just created, and this is for, it is on the NFT market, so on the crypto market. So that's also quite new. So here there was a need really to show really what's the problem, what are they resolving. So here you have, for example, there is a lack of high quality. They were specialized also on the art market. You know, NFT market, the market is illiquid in the sense that for artists, it is for new artists not known unless you know some dealers and you got some strong connection with the world, like of the art auction. It's difficult to market your product. And here, limited distribution channel for emerging artists. There is a lack of exhibition space for art collectors. So wealthy people, they don't have space in their house to put so many paintings or whatever. And there is also the risk of forgeries. So here, what we said, it's what they're offering. So you got high quality markets, they're making the marketplace more liquid. There is a new distribution channel for artists. They're freeing up exhibition space, and there is a proof of provenance. So this is, in conclusion, this is the business opportunity. And why investors like this is they can see they had actually a first mover advantage because they were the first one doing this. So here, again, we're looking at the equity investor. So equity investor, they lack fast growth, fast growth expectations. They like startup doing something new and they think the revenue going to grow very fast, and then they will be able to exist and get a premium out of this. Lenders are something to bear in mind. Lenders are more conservative. So that's why even some social investors, it's quite rare they invest on startups. Usually they will ask, a couple of years of trading, unless they want to, like the growth impact funds, maybe they invest in equity, so they might be more interested in startup. But I would say, for example, if you want to go to NatWest or Barclays, they will probably ask you, unless you have 2-3 years of past financial statements, they won't be considering your application. So it's just something to bear in mind, is lenders tend to be more conservative and ask for more track records. And one thing, I guess, again, probably the growth impact fund, we touch base on this. One thing which is good about a social investor is they don't ask you for personal guarantee. If you go on to a commercial loan, they will always ask you for a personal guarantee. I think that's definitely a good advantage of social investment to the extent you are eligible. I will pause here for any questions or comments. Sorry?
So it's right. Yeah. Do you get the difference between finance that's more linked to your personal assets and finance that's not linked to your personal assets? Right? Just raise your hands. Which one is more appealing? That one that's linked to your finance, to your assets, and one that's not?
One that's not.
One that's not.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, again, social investment is not, it has not been accessed a lot by minority-led organizations. Okay, with or without assets. Yeah. And on the basis that even a startup, an unregistered organization, can get social investment for its idea, so that it gets the money, registers, becomes what it needs to be. Yeah. And also one that's been trading for 10 years or 5 years, they could also get that. But whereas with a loan, when you go into a commercial lender like a bank, those ones are more highly risk averse and would mainly link it with your personal assets. So for those without assets, it's even worse then, because then, adult social care, looking for properties, well, you're not going to get it, right? So you have to rent. So it affects your business model and affects your costings. So that's why social investment is such a predominant thing. And it's always like a thing of why are we not accessing these opportunities, especially if it's not going to link with your personal assets. Okay. First, we are having more of these discussions around social investment. Okay. Any questions?
So the slide before, the word tranche, T-R-A-N-C-H-E. I've never seen that before, so I'm not very averse with business terminologies. And he also had a working capital of 30,000. So for me, yeah, I'm just a little bit unsure of if I've got investment, like how do I divide it?
Yeah.
So I was just a little bit.
Jim, did you get that?
No, I was struggling to hear. I think I only got working capital on that. So can you maybe repeat the question if you don't mind? Apologies for this.
Yes, so you put up a slide, I think it's the one before this, and so it had, because I've just looked up the word tranche, yeah, I'm very unfamiliar with that word, but I can see it's a portion of money, so first investment, second investment, and then you had working capital. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but
are you referring to this table? You want me to maybe talk about this those terms?
So yes, please. Interest-free loan from supporters.
Absolutely. I think
you've got £80,000 in total, And but £50,000 of it is social investment, and then you've got working capital of 30,000.
I think all of it is social investment, but
Yeah.
they give it to you in
Stages.
stages. I
Okay.
think the tranche is the stage,
Tranche.
different stages. I
Okay.
think.
All right.
Absolutely. And here, I think just maybe to comment on this table, I think it's also useful for you because most of, well, I would say all of them will ask you, what is the use, what do you need the money for? So by having a table like this is what usually, investor use. It's like, what is the source of funds? So where are you going to get the funds? So if it's a social investment, for example, in this instance, he had some members of his organization, wealthy, they were willing to provide an interest-free loan. So this is what we call interest-free loan from their supporters. Then we had a discussion with charity banks on this one as well. And it's we wanted to have it with two tranches because here is the funds were to be used for sales executive salary. And it's the way, again, this is what they call structuring your transaction. So in this instance, in year one, they will have 55,000 debt. And looking at the cash flow, it was a bit difficult for the organization to sustain 80,000. So the way we structure it is when you hire the sales executive increase your revenue, and in year two, you can take 25,000 more, and because your revenue and your income, if you will increase. So therefore, they were able to afford this. So that's why we presented it in two tranches, as opposed to saying to the social investor, one tranche, 50K, and plus the 30K, there was also a risk that they will turn us down. But by structuring it like this, in the year one this year, and the other one in 2023, then it gives them comfort in the organization ability to repay the loan. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, thank you.
And now I will talk about the working capital. Again, that's really, I would say, investor jargon. And you will have, if you go through an application, you go through quite a lot of this. So to simplify, this is, they wanted to have a pot of money to help them pay the suppliers, because they had some delays with some of the receiving the cash. So by having this, because when you pay, your customer can pay, in 30 days, or, it can be sometimes a bit delayed. So they wanted this pot of money to provide some buffer. So the words working capital means is most of the time is to finance your stocks, to finance your, to provide some buffer for you to pay your suppliers, or just to provide you some liquidity buffer, because on the day-to-day management, you're paying your suppliers, you got delayed, or your customer decide to pay you, you got longer term. So having this pot of cash enabled you to pay your day-to-day operation for your staff and for whatever you need, without having to wait until your customer pay you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we also have a question online. I don't see the hand now. But, do you have a question online?
No, not from me.
All right. No problem. All right, Janine, over to you.
If there is no more question, I suggest we move to the organization overview. Yep. That's okay. So here, I think someone mentioned it earlier, your background, your business plan, your business school, your education. Here, from an investor perspective, what they want to see here, They want to have confidence on the senior management, on your board, and the structure of your organization. So what I mean by this is, for example, your legal structure. So you got social investor. I know the growth impact funds is more agnostic when it comes to the legal structure, but not all of them. So they will ask to be either a charity or to have an asset lock, so a CIC, or maybe a limited company by guarantee. And they want to understand also what you're trying to do, what is your long-term vision, and what you want to achieve. And I would suggest to have the bio of the key person to provide them the level of confidence on the management, on the founders or your advisor, to make sure you got the right skill in place to manage your organization and grow your business. And the governance is particularly important for social investors. So do you have non-executive directors? Do you have trustees? And also how is your team structured? I can show you an example of this for, let me go back. So here for an established charity and CIC, and I think the legal structure, it's more like to say it's your incorporation, it has its purpose, what it wants to achieve, its value, and then the activities, what they're doing. And here you got a long bio of the trustees. And social investor will have this most, I would say, always. They want to understand, they want to have a bio of your trustee. Where are they? What expertise are they bringing? See, it's like every time, maybe here you can see what I mean by focusing on the social investor. I'm not just saying the background. I'm putting this in relation to what investor wants to hear. So I'm saying they bring extensive, for example, financial and governance expertise. So you kind of tick the investor box on the corporate governance. So they can see they have people in place. We can actually make sure this is done correctly, and so on. I think can show maybe for startups here, it's you had again here for the startup, one of the key person is really your founder. So a bio of this, it's quite important. And then here again, it's the write-up is focusing on, it's good to present it, but you're not presenting any information. You're thinking of what investor wants to see. So they want you to have confidence. They want you to show them that you have the right experience, to show them that you're passionate about what you're doing. Here, for example, the last paragraph, I just said that she's got, you know, she's got interest for art. She's passionate about it, and she's got quite extensive senior management experience. So, and here is the same for the founders. I picked up the bio. Shouldn't be any bio. I think, you know, you don't want to talk about, you know, your cat or friends, but that you want to really align it with what investor wants. So what they want from this is really confidence. Make sure you have the right expertise to drive the business forward. And here, I think, again, the section, because I think for startup, it's important to have non-executive directors or board of advisor. And here, again, present a bio of the advisor, and they were lucky to have some existing investors. And here, it just provide confidence and I guess it just provides them confidence that there are already some investors. Therefore, they are willing to put their money. Someone already has taken the risk, and it's something, just to give you some insight. It is sometimes, I would say, unfortunate, but some investor will only invest if someone has already put their money. So it's just showing, you know, that you managed to convince someone there is something here, and they're not going to take the risk alone. So to the extent you have early investor, it's always good to show. But what I want really to show here is not the writing here is always focusing with the investor on the back of my mind. On everything you put, you're trying to sell yourself every time. And here again, when you talk about the structure, you want to tick the box. Do they have the right structure in place? Yes, they have a finance person, they have a marketing, they got a business development, they drive the sales. So it's just, and the vision and strategy, what they want to do, and to align this with potential investors. So I think I will pause here and just open up to any questions, if there are, or comments.
Really to be key part, right? Because
Pardon?
so many times, I'm saying that was a really key part, because sometimes you look at people's websites and you can't see who the founders are. There's no bios, there's nothing about people except if you go in company's house, right? But by making it public also on your website, it means that there's consistency, and that consistency goes a long way when someone's looking for money, and that team. And I like also how the business plan, I've seen some business plans, and sometimes the text is this, and this is really succinct, straight to the point, nice, short, sweet. But by the time you're going through the documents, you're really looking at 12 documents, 12 pages or something. But everything is just short, sweet, and brief, so it's not this long exercise of people's credentials.
Where you can make your research about the legal terms and things.
Where?
Yes.
So that's a good question. 2 minutes, Jimmy. Yeah, so Bristol Library, Junction 3 and Central Library, if you got a library card, they now provide you with free one-to-one support for IP, so intellectual property. And then they've also got what's a system called Cobra that allows you. So if you, for example, you wanted to start give me a business someone would like to start, hypothetical.
Hotel.
What?
Hotel.
A hotel. Yeah. So you type in hotel, and it will tell you what are the basic industry standards that you need to start a hotel. Yeah.
Or you said Bristol Library, what?
It's at the Central Library of Junction 3, which is the one here.
Okay.
They do the IP and business support. IP is about your intellectual property, copyright and trademarks and all those stuff. And then the business support part gives you they can do research for you on markets, all of those kind of stuff. It's a toolkit for you to do that. You could also do it at home if you have a library card. But the software Cobra is quite an expensive software. But
You have to pay for this.
no, just have a library card. It's an expensive software for the libraries to have. So therefore they want people to use it.
Yeah.
But if you want to make your business plan really solid and concrete and up to date, Cobra is like a cheat sheet on, there's this business in the market, there's this business in the market. You know what I mean? The numbers that they're going to give you is all updated. It's like research companies doing research, and then they all put it there on Cobra. Yeah. But if you register on Cobra, they'll charge you a monthly subscription. Right, so you pay a monthly subscription for B1, then you pay a fee for downloading.
For more of this, right?
Yeah, Cobra. Yeah. Oh, hold on. This is it. This software. So this is good. I don't know if you see it. It's what the library provides, and you've got Cobra. That's the one that provides the software to get all up-to-date, it says here, a comprehensive collection of information and advice for anyone considering starting a business in the UK. International market intelligence, emerging and global markets. Hey, if you want to do a business plan, this is the software you need. Right? I've been looking for this thing, and now it's free. It's free, People from the MOD would use something like that.
Is Cobra only in Bristol or is it everywhere?
It's an international software that people use to write business plans. But I've always had this thing, like, why does someone write a business plan today and tomorrow they're getting the finance? because some of them will use Cobra.
Just in UK or is in the world or?
Use the software, you get all your answers. I can't beat that one. I've never used it. I just found out that now it's free, so I am going to use it. Gotta get a library card. But that tool will give you all the things. You know, you want to be commercial, what you want to do. Cobra will tell you exactly how to go about doing it, and then you just make it personalized into your business. So that ability of starting a business is actually becoming faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. So you know, you can create 5 businesses if you like with these kind of toolkits. It's a lot easier. You know, they're really taking away the pain. Because when we're talking about things like this, it can seem like it's very daunting. Yeah, people asking for 80,000 or 1 million. But when you do one, you could do 2, you could do 3. You could wake up and then just pick that, choose this, do pitch something. You know, you could easily start getting used to it. Yeah. But you gotta start doing it so that it becomes that practice. But Cobra is a beautiful tool, honestly. I'm not endorsing it for no reason. It's a beautiful tool. Sorry, I was there yesterday.
Hot off the press.
Yeah, any questions for Julie about that team and all that stuff? So you see what recruitment is also important. Yeah, for your board, for the people that you want to, you know, collude into your thing. It's really important. Some of them you're getting them for their name sake because maybe they don't really do much in your business, but it's because they know that their name also means a lot when you're asking for finance or something like that. Yeah.
What if you're a small company, like just starting, fresh off the press, and you don't have a board? You're the director, and that's it.
But depending on what you're trying to say you need to achieve, some would expect a team, but therefore maybe your working capital is higher because you're saying you are just this person, you've got this idea, you need a team of people, and therefore right now you're keeping your idea because of high intellectual property in it, you're keeping it really small until you can secure something so that you can really grow it. You know, you want that investor to be with you on the journey. So you must have probably tested it, piloted it, done all those things yourself to evidence it. You know, so yes, you can have one who does something at scale where you need the investment to grow it.
I think it's also sometimes if you start small, right, and it's you, then you'll be seeking certain sums of money from investors to be able to, you know, finance your working capital or something like that, or your cash flow, because there's a certain jump in it. When you're going for bigger scaled investment, clearly, what's the investor investing in? Well, it's investing in the business idea and whether he believes or she believes financially it can be scaled to the numbers that you're giving them. But the other thing they're investing in is the team. So if it's a team of 1 and you run under a bus, it's a risk versus reward, right? And the end game, so you're high risk. So if you've got a team, and especially if that team is multi-talented, that seems to come together, then you've got more chance of obtaining larger amounts of investment.
Okay.
So if you haven't got a team, you might have to argue that you're going to get a team. This is the plan to do it. But yeah, you're probably going to need to find a way of.
You think about the team, what team, the employees or your networking?
I say anybody who engages with my business idea is part of my team, because I tell them they're part of my team, even if they're not being paid to be part of my team, or something like that. And that's just how you build relationships. You know, if they can support you in any way, they're part of the team. It's how you leverage their skills, their ability, their money, their talents to achieve what you need to achieve.
Okay.
So anybody's part of your team. I mean, your customers are part of the team, because they can tell their friends.
Thanks.
I think, I will echo this, and I think 2 things. I just wanted maybe to come back on the website, so mentioned, is because the first thing investor will look at, and I mentioned, for example, social investor, they will have an initial meeting with you. They will check your website, So that's the first thing, and company house or charity commissions. So I think it's good to bear this in mind, and just when you on your website if you can provide as much information about your business and the team, that's probably ticks some boxes already. And the second point is, if you are a team of one, I think there is two ways to go about it. It's either you wait to what they call be investment ready. So maybe have the structure in place and hire the advisor or trustee or non-executive directors until you approach investors. Or you can also mention your plan. I think it was to do that. What I would say is, unless you are a startup and you want to raise equity, I think they tend to invest in the team and on the founder particularly. So if you can demonstrate that you have the right thing in place that might interest the angel investor or equity investor, I would say that, again, bearing in mind, social investors and lenders tend to be more conservative when it comes to a loan. So I think to be transparent, not all social investors will accept a business we just newly formed and only have one employee. So it's just something to bear in mind. So then you can decide to wait for the next 6 months until you have the structure in place, or you might find some social investor willing to do so. In my experience, I like to say that it's, unless you want to go for equity, loan is, unless it's obviously a startup loan from a bank, a British business bank or the like, which is effectively a personal loan, it is difficult for a new organization with little track record to get a loan. So just something to bear in mind. If there is no question, I'll move to the business model. So here is really to describe what do you do, and more importantly, I think in any, although social investor like your impact, they want to see that you can repay the loan. So it's important to describe here, how do you make money? So here, what my suggestion is more to have a section about your products, services, description, your pricing, what is, if you are, for example, this charity at the CIC where they're selling football. So what's your distribution channels? What's your suppliers? So I can illustrate this by showing you the section, one of the business plan. I'll show you for, I guess, stuff. So let me just go maybe on the startups. It's probably, yeah. So here, for a startup, what we had a value proposition. So basically, what are you providing here? Really, what value are you bringing here? And here it's more to basically you are showing the strength of your offering. So, and then here we had descriptions of the product offered and all that. And here I think I had it because there was some confidential information, but we had chart about the transaction process, because again, it's something to think about it. It's like, you don't, if things are complex, for example, here it's a non-fungible token, so it's on a crypto market. You always think it needs to make the investor life easy. So that's why here we had some charts, just to explain the transaction process and how it works. And we also had the pricing, the commission they are actually charging. And here again, this was a marketplace, so we had some confidential information on how they want to develop. So from an investor perspective, what they can see here is one, okay, so that's the value they're adding to their customers. So that we buy into this, so they think they can make money. So the products make sense. Then we explain how we are going to generate the revenue, and they can understand how it works. That's important. And then what you have, it's how we will develop it to scale it. So again, this was done bearing in mind the investors. And here, maybe if I think about the CIC, we kept it, sorry, it is, yeah, so here it is more in terms of the products and what they were doing. They're making footballs and just describing how they make it and the value they're adding. So I will stop here and open up for questions, if there are any.
Would you mind putting the slide back up so I could just take some notes of the slides, please? Thank you.
Sorry, which slide?
That same slide right there.
This one.
Yes.
I'm gonna send this out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna send this out.
Yeah, I'm happy to share the presentation. So if there is no question, I will move to the customers. And here again, so here you're presenting in your business model the what do you do and how you make your revenue. So now your investor is interested who are your customers and what motives them, what are the motivation to buy your product. So it's more like they want the investor wants to understand your customers. Who are they? What is the profile? And what is the motivation to buy your product and services? Let me illustrate this by one of the businessmen I did. So here, I think you had for the charity and CIC, you had the customer, like I said, you had the profile. So we are there, and then we're saying what the motivation to buy. So they want to buy a socially responsible football because that's contribute to a good cause, because there is a high quality, the price is reasonable. And then here we went on how we distribute the products. So the direct sale, retail stores, partners, and so on. I think that's another section. And then when it comes to the startups, we did exactly the same thing. So here it's a bit more complex because it's a marketplace. So basically you had on one hand, you had the sellers, which is mainly the artists. We put the products on the marketplace, and then you got the buyers, which are art collectors and so on. So here you have the section describing the profile of the sellers and what motivates them. You know, the motivation, it's access to a new self-distribution channel, because as a new artist, it's difficult to sell your products. You know, our galleries, you provide them, because you're online, you provide them a global reach. You can make them, they want to increase their profits, they can get some royalty incomes. And then they also have a payment, which is in a fiat currency, means basically you have the cryptocurrency and you have the fiat currency is effectively pounds or you know, sterling or euros. And then they're also independent, they don't rely. I think from the buyer here, it's more like the art collector. So we're describing where are they. So you got the boomers, the generation Z, generation X, and that's backed up again by market data. That's why you have a chart. And again, what are the motives? So you got, they want to buy an art item. They want to be able to resell it if they want. They do it for investments, or they want to run something virtual. And it's just also because some of them, it become trendy. So I think, let me just go back to my screen. So here, really here, they just want to understand your customers, and basically you will be able to, and what you're selling them effectively, and why they are motivating to buy your products. I will stop it and open up for question.
It's
That should be fine.
hi. Yeah, Sib said, he made a good point saying, who are your customers? And they can't be everyone, but some businesses, sometimes it's hard to quantify. So take a football team, for instance, they have a certain goal, but the merchandise side of it is very profitable. Same as Ferrari, they don't aim at children, they aim at a high-end caliber of customer. But you see children with Formula One and Ferrari tops, and Ferrari have even got trainers. So it's a great vision they've got, but I'm just wondering how you would quantify that within a business plan without getting kind of too tripped up on your own vision.
So I think if I understand your question, is more to quantify your customers. So I think here you're right, it depends on your business model and what you're trying to do. You don't want to aim at any customers. So here is more to describe your target customers. So if you're launching a new products, and you mentioned maybe Ferrari, so the target customers is wealthy, high net worth individuals and wealthy people. So that's what drives the marketing, the bonding and the message and so on. So I think in this section, you don't necessarily need to quantify the customers unless you are, let's say, you want to say that maybe you have already 1,000 customers, so please feel free to put it. But I think here the focus is more to understand where are they and what's their motivations, really. I think you can take a deep dive into quantifying this when you reach the financial section, because then, and also the market, to identify maybe your market share and all that. But here it's more, at this stage in this section, is more description.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'll move to the next section. So you're leading to what you were saying in terms of quantifying your customers. So here you want to quantify your market, and why the market is important. Is basically, if there is no market for your product, it's difficult to convince an investor to invest. He will just not invest into it because there is no market. So if you're a startup, you already mentioned the problem you're solving and all that, and you're illustrating this by the market. So what is important here is the size of your market. If it's a niche market and it's only, to the extent you can quantify it, it's only a 200,000 market, and you have one competitor is generating, let's say, 150,000 revenue, it's difficult to get anything out of this unless you innovate completely, and then that's another story. You need to quantify this market. And then to the extent you have it, obviously for a startup, it'd be more difficult, but if you're more established, it's good to highlight your market share. And what is important is also what is driving the market growth. So here, what I meant, I will illustrate this with two other examples. So here is to back up the market performance. So with historical data, let's say, the market has grown, let's say, a compound annual growth rate of 10% or 10% per annum, and then it is expected to grow at 20%. So what that provides in summary, is confidence. It provides investor confidence in your products or services, that there is a market for this. There is a market which is likely to grow. It is big. You can get market share. So therefore, every assumption you will back up when you say, oh, I want to increase my revenue by 10%. If, let's say, the market is expected to grow at 10%, it's easier for an investor to buy into this, as opposed to the market is expected to shrink by 10% and you expect to grow at 20%. Then the assumptions become unrealistic unless you really can justify it. Let me illustrate this point by showing it.
I was really shocked. He runs a social enterprise in security, and there's only 2 in the country. One is in Scotland, and the other one is in Bristol. You know, because most security companies are limited by share, and he started one as a social enterprise. So all these construction sites and events were booking him because automatically he fits a commercial model. There's loads of competition. Social enterprises aren't in that commercial space. They just do community stuff. And he just went, just like that. You know, because like, oh yeah, we need to buy from social enterprises, you know, this, what do we call it, bounce back better. And he fitted it right. COVID was just amazing for him, you know. He's not doing anything different than what a commercial would do. But the fact that he was a social enterprise in that time with limited competition, there's 2 in the country, you know, one in Scotland and one in Bristol. I thought, what research, you know, just amazing.
That's right. I think absolutely that's a good point. If you are, you know, you got a first mover advantage, what they call, you are the first one doing this, and you can demonstrate there will be a market for it. It's definitely put your organization in a very good position, because it demonstrates that there is a strong growth prospect. I think here is just to give you a feel of what was done for the startups. So here it's bit more. We started with the global markets, and here what I talk about performance, this is what I meant. So you can see here there is some historical data. So everything, all the story, the story about our forecast will be backed by this. So an investor, when they see those figures, and it's not from myself, it's from, you know, from a report from Arts Economics, a very respectable and organization. So it provides, that's what I said, to back this by report. It provides a level of confidence in your data, and that's important. Confidence is key. So, and here we just break it down by the market segments, break it down. So then you go down the online art market. Again, it's on the historical performance and how it's been growing. So here you have also the NFT market. Again, you have a historical performance. And yeah, so then you want to at least have historical. To the extent you don't have forecast, it's not always easy, or otherwise you need to spend quite a lot of money. But at least if you have historical information, it tends to be more readily available. So it's fine. But if the market has been going at 10%, it's easier to convince an investor that it will still grow. I think I have also, for the social enterprise I work with, they are selling football. So here again, for the market reports, which show, although it shows a decline in a demand for football, because here again, when I talk about the drivers, what are the drivers here? The driver is more like kids playing football. It's the demand increase when you have a World Cup, everyone wants to buy a football. So, you know, that's what I meant by driver. But if there is no World Cup, and then you see like a growth in video game or during lockdown, for example, people are not playing, so therefore the market shrank. But we're providing them some comfort because there is a market report there saying that the market is expecting to grow at 80% compound annual growth rate. So then when we talk about when we do our forecast and we forecast, let's say 10% growth per annum, the investor cannot say, well, where did you get this from? We just said, well, look, the market is growing, so we think this is actually conservative because we expected 10% versus 18%. So that's why the market data is important here, is to provide the level of confidence. I will just pause here if there is any question. Or is it getting late and I should go quite quickly? All right, if there are no question, maybe let me move to the other section. So now you actually identify the market you are on, and there is growth, there is, your drivers now, and you also highlighted your product and services. But now we want to understand who else is there. So what is your competitive environments? Who are your direct competitors? So, or where are your indirect competitors? And what are the barriers to entry? Let me just explain this. The barriers to entry is basically if you have what they call low barriers, that means it's easy to replicate your business model. So let's say if I run a coffee shop, it's not that difficult to replicate this. But if, for example, like this startup, I am on a crypto market and I'm doing a non-fungible token, it needs a level of technology and expertise and also initial investment in your platform, which is much higher. So therefore, the new entrants, the new competitors to enter your market is going to be difficult because you need to acquire the technology, the know-how. You need to invest quite a lot. So you don't do this overnight. Whereas, I don't know if I'm selling, maybe some coffee just in a corner, it's probably easier to replicate. So therefore, what does that mean for competitors? It means the more competitors you have, I guess it can be a positive on the ways there is a market for him and people are attracted to it. But then that's probably the next section. You need to demonstrate that you differentiate yourself. Then barriers to entry, the higher the better, because if new businesses can enter the market very easily, what does that mean for an investor? It means there will be pressure on your margin, because let's say if you're charging 4 pounds for a coffee and someone just come next to you and is doing the same thing for 2 pounds, at some point you will have to reduce it, unless you differentiate yourself to justify a premium. So let me maybe illustrate this on just by showing you an example. Yeah, I think here we mentioned the competitors briefly. So he's doing football. So some of the direct competitors are, for him, are the one we do like Adidas and the other one. But then he also had some indirect competition from I guess gift store selling a football or. And here, I think for this NFT, it's the same. It's the direct competitors, is the other NFT marketplace, but here they are also a unique position in a way. They are the first mover advantage. No one was doing exactly what they're doing. So it is good. Having said that, they still have indirect competition, because you can buy a piece of art by going to Christie's if you're really wealthy, or you can go to online art dealers. So that's what I mean by indirect competitors. But the barriers to entry were high. So that's why it justifies when in our forecast we put high margin, when investors can say, well, okay, they have the first mover advantage, then I can buy into the story of increasing the margin. I think let me here move to the second point, which is once you identify your competition, it's what differentiates you, what is your competitive advantage. And here, what I like my client to show. It's more basically the services. For example, a simple table like this, it makes it easy for your investor to understand. So it's you list all your competitors, all your services, and then you just tick on what's what they're doing and what's your actually make you unique. Here, for example, it's because they are doing like leather ball, they personalize it, they go to give focus and also social impact. And most of the investors were not doing this. So it can again illustrate your points and showing investors that, yeah, there is a market for it. And in addition to this, we have a unique selling points and we have a competitive advantage. So therefore, we are differentiate ourselves from the rest of the competition, and that justify our pricing and our ability to gain market share. I will pause it just to open up to question, and or is there any?
It was just an observation. The fall in football sales due to COVID because of the lockdown, and then the forecasted rise in football now COVID's ended. I'm surprised I didn't see part of that rise because of women's football. They played a massive tournament yesterday, and a lot more women are playing football. So yeah, it's just an observation.
Yeah, I think your observation, it's a fair one, and I believe the forecast is showing this, because where we get comfortable and what we wanted to show investor is particularly this, is saying the market shrank, but we expect it to grow because of the new events. So what you see here is as of 2021, and then when you have the growth here is driven by new events. So I think we mentioned it here, is the market is expected to bounce back, and just maybe fueled by the rise in new football events at global and national level. You have the national leagues, the reference Europa Conference League, you also have the Women World Cup, and you have also the increase in football promotion, and you also have, like you mentioned, rightly so, the growing popularity of the sports with women. And this is what I refer to drivers. So you're not only saying to your investor that's going to go and that's it. You're providing them some backup information. You're backing your argument, and it is what this is all about. And I think you make the investor managers or relationship manager life easier when he needs to present this to investment committee, because themselves they will have many questions as part of the due diligence, and the investment committee will have questions. So that you just here making their life easier and reducing the amount of questions they will be by always backing your arguments.
Jimmy, could you go back to that slide?
Sure.
Yeah. For me, the golden nugget is in the description at the top.
Which slide?
It was the part where it talks about the social enterprise. The fact that they are 100% of their profits.
Okay. So it's competitive advantage. So that's why he's differentiating himself from the competition. I think it's further below.
That's it. Oh my God.
So it's here. I think we're referring to this part.
Yeah. Fighting for investment with someone who is commercial. And this one says the main competitive advantage is our social cause. They're not saying it's the price, it's this, no, it's our social cause. It's the only ball brand in the world to invest 100% of its profits into social impact in line with charitable objectives and so forth. So they're not doing anything different, even if they're as commercial as they can be, but the main difference is the business model that they've selected, right? And even if they were a limited by share and said 50% of our profits is invested back, or 30% or 20%, all of that makes a huge difference to the people saying 100% profit is taken, given to investors and whatever, you know? So in terms of that social impact, social investor, and who you want money to come from, equity, or, you know, that part as a competitive advantage is just great. And then they've got what the product also delivers, you know, but I think it's just reading it, I can see the main difference of social enterprises. And funny enough, within this landscape in terms of social investment, because most of these organizations are not doing things at scale, the investors have not invested something close to like 28 million has not been invested within the social economy because there aren't that many to invest in. So that's just like, yeah, we want to invest, but we don't see it. You know what I mean? In terms of like opportunities, I can show you that. What's it? Social enterprise scale up research. Oh, fantastic! Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, and I think I will echo to this. This is what is important to write your business plan with your investors in mind. So here we are looking for social investment. So in every opportunity, we try to, well, I guess to showcase and to highlight why we are focusing on the social impact and what makes us a suitable investment. I think now I would go on the business developments. Here again, it's more to answer the question: how will you now? You said you have the customers, you have your market for it. There's a competitive advantage. Now, how you are going to attract those customers, and how you will actually convert them. And so it's all about your route to market, your marketing strategy, your advertising, branding, social media, and sales force, and so on. So just to illustrate quickly that point, it's the way that looks like. If we stayed here, it's like it's here. You have a section on how they're going to promote it. And here, I think the core message here they want to convey is to differentiate the same, if football as a force for good. So, and here the business development and the startups we had. Yeah, so there again, here it's a bit confidential the way we're going about the business development, but they're also investing on branding. They had, I guess, more resources, so they hire a branding agency for this. They're also working on the social media, and here we're backing up, our marketing strategy by some survey, which people where do the buyers of arts get what's the most useful, effective way to promote it. And also here a section about the website traffic, and there are some events they wanted also to do. I think if there are no question on the marketing, I just move quickly to the next section, just mindful of the time. So here, I think we touched base on this earlier. So if you intend to raise social investment or impact investment, and your investors will ask you for your impact, what is your impact? So here, the suggestion here is mainly to say what's your current impact, and even if you have the way you measure your impact, and then by securing this funding, how will that increase your impact? Because what they want to see, and when they go to the investment committee, say, well, we should invest here because it's a great business, we think they can repay, all that, and in addition to that, they have a significant social impact. And remember, this is their mission. So they're really focusing on the social impact. So this section is a must for if you go for social investments or impact investments. Okay, let me just illustrate this quickly with the charity and CIC. Oops, sorry. Oops, sorry. Sorry, wrong button. Okay, so I pressed the wrong one. So here, I think we had a section on the impact. And again, here, why we did this is because they are also global. So they also have an impact in Africa. But again, the focus was on the UK social investors. And most of them, they want to see the UK impact. So what we did, again, is we make a business plan which is bespoke to them and aligned. So what the main focus is the UK impact. This is the first section, because in social investor, then we look at it. We don't want to talk about the impact in Africa. They're not interested. We mention it, but we want to straight away make their life easy. What's the UK impact? Here it is, and here it is presented. So the life, you just make the life easier to approve. Then you mentioned other things about, the impact in Africa, but that's more not the priority. So you want to again, sell your business and make sure this is aligned with their mission. And here again, the sustainable goals, what they do. So they had an impact report. Again, they are more advanced because they've been around for, I think, more than 20 years. So that's for the impact sessions. Then sorry, let me pause here actually. Are there any questions? If not,
let's go to the end.
Again?
Let's go to the end. So
okay, quickly. So then let me go quickly. Yeah, I know, of course, it's a lot of information. On the financial, I think we need, strictly speaking, we need here already once just workshop for this, I think, because here it's more to back your assumptions with and your story with numbers. So like I said, when you talk about the market, they want to see if you're an existing business, what is your past performance? So they want to see your income statement or your cash flow. And then the way they think about it is your past performance will dictate your future performance, i.e. your financial projection. So if you've been, your revenue has been declining by 10% every year for the past 10 years, and then you expect it to go by 10%, you make it difficult unless you got some very good rationale for it, for an investor to buy into this. So here I will keep it simple. It's just present your past performance and your forecast, make the investor life easier by saying you've thought about it and you provided some assumptions. So you expect your revenue, for example, to go by 10% because there is a pickup on the football market, because there is the World Cup coming up, this kind of story to back it up for your assumption. Then the valuation, that's something which is important for equity because you're going to give up some equity, so you need to have a value for this. But again, it's complex, you need probably a workshop for this. But the idea here is if you value your business at let's say 1 million, and you want to give up 50% equity, so you expect to raise 500K, but the investor, we challenge your valuation because he's going to put 500K. He wants to make sure the valuation is correct. And here again, moving quickly here, it's the conclusion to your business plan. I think many people like to have a SWOT. Me, I'm not a fan of it. I was use the main risk and provided a way to sell yourself. Not saying just the risk are this, and that's it. You want to provide the risk and say, okay, we think there is a strong competition in the market, which might drag down my margin. However, I have a strong competitive advantage. So here, what you're giving confidence to the investor is you thought about your risk and you know how to navigate them, to mitigate them. So I would say with a SWOT, most people just list them. Okay, it's common practice, but here you have an opportunity to sell yourself. You have an opportunity to say, I identify the risk, and that's how I mitigate them. And the last section, and then I will show you just this, is the investment highlight. So it's basically a copy and paste from, well, usually when you write the business plan, you will write this at the end because you need to have all the information. And then you will copy and paste this to your executive summary to make sure you don't let them to wait until the, the end of your business plan to get this. And here it's really what you're answering is why should investor invest in your organization? You want to release the key strengths of your business and why you're meeting the investor objective. I just show you quickly how that looks for the social enterprise with and
the last section. Jimmy, I do have a question.
So yeah, just showing you.
So back to section on accounts. Now, because accounts are such, but they're so involved. When you're presenting accounts for a business proposition, say you're looking for finance, that is where I have found the failing to be, because to present accounts in a way that is, I guess, sexy for the people that you're trying to sell to, because if they go directly into your accounts and you're faffing around, well, they kind of lose confidence. And I was just wondering, in terms of really getting your accounts spot on, what do people like myself who want to start a business but certainly don't have the resources to go to an accountant, if you do have like I heard Sibs talk about Cobra being a kind of like template to give you a business plan, is there something similar for accounts whereby I can say, well, yeah, this is my balance sheet, profit and loss, yeah, this looks good, boom boom, or do I need to come and see someone like yourself?
Not necessarily. It depends if you have the which accounting software you have. I think you can just extract this from the accounting software, and then you can. And usually, what they will do at the initial stage, they will ask for your statutory account. So it's something which is already been filed. Then I would say for the financial.
So I guess. I should say it's a startup. It's you're coming from idea, or is that maybe just too early in the process? This is a lot further down the road, isn't it?
I think for startup, it won't be relevant. For startup, they don't expect you to provide the historical, financial. Maybe you might have 6 months or of trading just to validate your market, the small traction. Because they are investors, especially for startup, they are really interesting on the early traction because they want you to come to say, okay, there is a market for it, even if you're generating maybe 10K or 20K, and then you want the funding to scale up. So they want just this. So I think I wouldn't worry if you're starting because they don't expect you to have this. If you are more established organization, you will have likely to file statutory accounts in company house, and you will have this. I believe the only things with accountant, they are good. It depends. Some of them might have a focus, and be oriented toward investors. But I think what I tend to see, they're good at providing compliance, management account and historical information. But then what is important, and I believe I work with my client, it's more on building a story for your projection. And that's what the investor will see, because it's a different, although the historical information provide a basis to investor to believe in your forecast, what they're interested in is in your forecast, because this is what's showing whether you can repay the loan, and this is what's showing if there is a strong growth for investor and they can make a sizable return out of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Yeah.
I always find it, with the narrative of the business plan or the main stuff tells a story.
Yes.
And with a startup, the numbers tell the same story. So when an investor's looking at your numbers, if it doesn't relate to the story that you told in the narrative, then they'll start to ask you a lot of questions. And you want to be talking, I always say 80-20, you want to be talking, if you're with an investor, about 80% of the things that you want to talk about and 20% of the things that maybe they ask you a question you don't know much about and you can get it through. If it's the other way around, because you've been naive in your numbers and they don't represent the story, then it'll be flipped the other way around.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I should say, in terms of, I guess, the tips at the beginning, yeah, be consistent. Because the first thing you don't want, it's always, investors tend to be anxious anyway. I mean, in your ability to either them to exit as a good return or get dividends or loan or to repay the loan. So you want to reduce this anxiety and not raise, questions. So if you said, for example, in your story, you're struggling and the market you don't expect to grow, and then in your financial forecast is inconsistent and you show 20% growth, then you raise eyebrow, and then it's not a good way to provide confidence in your business. So I think I would say the forecast is important, and to the extent some accountant might focus on the historical, but again, if you're a social enterprise, I think, I'm not sure, I don't know, I'm not aware of this really how this software works, but if, for example, and probably the growth impact fund we mentioned is if you're a social enterprise, the CIC, you can have access to the rich fund. So for example, this charity didn't pay for my services. There is a grant. Yeah, it's called the Rich Fund. There is a grant available to pay for my services. So I managed, he didn't have much resources to do the business plans and the financial model as well. I did for him. So, and I act as an advisor throughout the process. I attend the meeting. So this is to say, even if you are a limited budget, don't think there is no help up there. So I think the Growth Impact Fund, probably we mentioned this. I think they are also a partnership with the Rich Fund. So to the extent you are a CIC or a charity, you could tap into this, or I believe the Growth Impact Fund might have as well some grant that provides for what they call investment readiness. And what they call effectively is to have a business plan, a financial model. And sometimes, not every accountant can do that, because obviously the job is more to deal with the historical information as opposed to the forecast, and they don't necessarily have the insight on what investor wants because they didn't maybe have the background in investment banking or asset manager or working with investors. So I think I would say be mindful of this. And if you're not sure, before, for example, I'm working on a live transaction, and one of my clients, which is a charity and parent company and limited company, they were about to send the forecast 12 months to a social investor. I reviewed them before and I said, I don't advise you to do that, because they were loss making, and in the next 12 months, what they're showing, it's a break even. So I know that it will rise red flag and it's unlikely. So now we'll do some work with them to look at the cash flow and look at the projection and what can be done to present something more acceptable to the investors. Because otherwise you just turn down, and then it's difficult to get the relationship back when they say no. So that's all I had. I know it's a lot to take on, and it's late, you're probably hungry, so apologies for going over the time. But I hope that was helpful. And if you have any question and you want to connect, I'm on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to me by email. And I'll be delighted to assist you.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Jimmy. That was.
I'd like to say one thing, Jimmy, that's the best presentation I've ever had in terms of business presentation ever. Thank you. It's been good. Like we share late.
Thank you.
So, yes, every Thursday until the 28th of July, we have these sessions, 5:30 till 7:30. Additionally, we have one-to-one sessions that you can book with myself and my colleague, Derek, our enterprise manager. So next week, we have the Growth Fund. The Growth Fund is a collaboration between large funders like Local Access Partnership, who have made it smaller by giving this money to a partnership between Unlimited and Big Issue, and they called this project Growth Fund. Okay, it's around for 5 years. They offer 15K if you are thinking about getting social investments, so you can do your business plan and all these things, and hire a consultant and get all of this stuff ready, whilst they put you with a manager who's responsible for your account in the journey. Yeah, because our thing, like I was saying about people not accessing these resources, is that normally you need capital to access capital. That's why they are saying they're going to put 15K of seed money to invest in childcare, so they got time to do it, or whatever you need to enable you to apply. Yeah. Once someone's applying, they only make these schemes for 50K and above. All right. So nothing less than 50K. On top of that 50K plus, they then provide, because that may be a loan, maybe equity, it may be trade. So as you trade, as they earn, as you earn. Yeah. They then also add 20,000 as grant. So before you start paying back, they give you a grant to work it all out and so forth. Yeah. So this is a blended finance kind of model. Next week, we're looking at, like what Jimmy has touched on, who are the social investors out there? What do they do? The toolkits, application form, to fill in the finance. This is more or less the spreadsheets that they prefer. You know, this is some examples of other people that have been successful. This is what they applied, real case studies, yeah? A week after that, we're then looking at the application and we are writing it, yeah? For those who feel that are ready. If you're not ready, it's the practical experience with the funder themselves will help you through that journey, okay? I believe life is like a muscle. You gotta practice it until it gets good. If you don't practice it, you'll never start. So I know there's always the intimidation of the money and the responsibility, and I'm not ready yet. That's not the point. What we say is the more we get used to the exercise, the less we reduce the fear of seeking those high valued kind of loans and schemes and whatever it may be, okay? There's an underlying kind of package of support with all of these things, all right? So, yes, ma'am.
I think for a lot of minorities, it's what constitutes a social enterprise. Or a lot of people want to progress themselves. It's what percentage, for example, of your business are you willing to give to, give back to social projects and stuff like that. So for example, that example was about giving back 100% profit. A lot of minorities will not be able to give back 100% of their profits.
Let me go deeper on that. When they say give back, what do you think they mean? How are they giving it back?
I suppose it's investing in, giving back to projects, like community projects and stuff like that. No.
So I'm a social enterprise, and profits that are made in the company are reinvested back into my own projects to make them better. Yeah? Okay. I'm not taking the profits and reinvesting it and giving it to you to run your program. No, that's not what I mean. All we mean is that money is not given to directors to increase their salaries or to trustees to further enhance themselves. It means that the money is then brought back into the company, and we can think about, well, we've now got 50,000 profit. Are we going to get a house that we can rent out to people? Are we going to get vehicles? Because now we're thinking of growing. Are we going to read research to see what else people need from us? Yeah, that's what it means by reinvested back.
It's about understanding that.
Yes, 110%. And also limited by share can also be a social enterprise, because instead of giving 100% of its dividends to its directors, it only gives 50%. Yeah. So it can actually also get social investment, right? But the appetite of that kind is not as much. If you articulate your offer, it is also available that you'll find those. You know, there's the shoes company called Tom's. They do that. You buy one shoe, they give another shoe to someone in Africa, or you buy eyeglasses from them, they help someone get eyeglasses. That is a for-share model, but they got that 30% minimum to be a social enterprise. Even Blue, the one with the water bottles, yeah, is a for-profit, but profit for purpose. Yeah, we need the money to do this other good stuff. Otherwise, we can't do it.
Is it a conflict of interest or even more if the social enterprise company, say, takes services from a private company that you own? I mean, is there legislation stopping that? Or
Only in charities.
only in charities, but with clicks, is it possible or not?
Because with the charity, you need to declare conflict of interest to anyone who's supplying your services. Yeah.
For the community interest company.
But with community interest, it doesn't have as much rigor.
Right.
But what you would normally then have is a conflict of interest document between you and your directors to say, although I am providing, so for example, I provide marketing services.
Chinese wall or something like that.
Yeah, I provide marketing services to one of our CICs or 2P charity. Yeah, but it is clear that I'm providing you marketing services, although I'm a director in the charity. I'm providing you marketing because I do marketing.
Yes.
So as long as it's declared, it's very clear. That's what it is. That's what it is. What they don't want is that it's like, oh, yeah, we didn't know. Oh, look at the director. Oh, it's you. Oh, and you there. Oh.
No, I mean,
You've got to look with anything. Yeah, exactly. You've got to look with anything in terms of the eye of somebody looking at it from an audited perspective and seeing it's fraud, right? So obviously, we're trying to change its social purpose.
No, I'm looking at legitimate, just wanted to make sure that there was legislation in place to prevent that type of. Because that's how it is in work.
Yeah, it's just having that conflict of interest document that is there between the for-profit and the non-for-profit. Yeah, that's all that it is. Most people would never ask of it. It's just that if someone ever does ask, that it's there and it's dated back and dated now. You know what I mean? That's the only thing, but it is not. The only thing that most funders don't want is that the social enterprise is managed by a group company. Yeah, that's the only thing that they don't want. They want it to be 100% independent and not, yeah. All right. Any questions for Jimmy? No questions for Jimmy? No questions for Jimmy? Okay, that's cool. So we here get to
What books he recommends for us? What books he recommends for us?
What books do you recommend, Jimmy?
Wow, so it's a very good question. And to be honest, I have a book on a business plans, how to write business plan. To be fair, I haven't read any books on this because obviously my experience is from doing it over 15 years. So I'm working with different investors, but I can maybe just do some research on this and I'll come back to you. I think if you are just after a template, there is probably quite a lot offline. I think here the focus was more to give you to look at it from an investor perspective, so that when you write it, you have this in the back of your mind, and so you can meet the requirements. And I'm not sure. Well, maybe book. I need to dig, to be honest, if there are any books which are really focusing on raising the funds. I think there are quite a lot for startup, but I think they tend to be focused on pitch deck. So that's for sure. If you don't need a pitch deck, it's a similar logic. But yeah, leave it with me. I will look. I will do some research, and if I see anything, I will just certainly send it with my presentation.
Any other questions? No, all good? No, oh. It's fine. Well, thank you so much, Jimmy. Thank you, Jimmy. The presentation was outstanding. Thanks from Naomi. Thanks from Mia. Yeah, you feel free to unmute and you take yourself off. What is it? Secret camera. Take yourself off secret camera.
Thank you very much for having me. And, yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you for putting this meeting together. I really do appreciate it. I've just got so much information. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you all.
My pleasure. Thanks, Naomi.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks a lot, Sips, as well, for putting it on Zoom. Thank you. The presentation was really helpful. I took lots of notes. Thank you.
I'll send up the slides definitely by tomorrow, if not Monday. Well, when Jimmy sends me the slides, I'll send them over.
We'll do it tomorrow, and I'll also try to find some relevant book.
Yeah, and I don't know if are you okay to share the examples that you're using?
Unredacted.
That's I won't be able to, because I think it's for confidential, confidentiality reason. It's a bit sensitive. I sign it.
If you remove the content but leave the headings, that creates a template.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like a template, just moving the content. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be great. Just take up the text, and then if there's a graph, I mean, just leave the graphs, so then we can get an idea. But just remove the text.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks. So to anyone joining us there online, thank you very much. The session has been recorded. We will try to put it on Zoom, but we don't want to make things available for people that didn't turn up. So I'm not sure about that. Yeah, we'll just share the links with you. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.